Hi, I am Amit Dharnia, Assistant Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering of Arya College of Engineering and IT, Kukas, Jaipur. Today we will learn about the brakes used to control the vehicle. So let's we start. Brake. The device used to stop any vehicle by applying the frictional forces. One of the most important control component of the vehicle. They are required to stop vehicle within smallest possible distance, and this is done by converting kinetic energy of the vehicle into heat energy, which is dissipated into atmosphere. Braking requirements. Brake must be strong enough to stop vehicle with a minimum distance in an emergency, and the brake must have good anti-fade characteristics, like their effectiveness should not decrease with prolonged applications. This requirements demands cooling of the brake should be very efficient. The types of brakes. The brakes of an automobiles are classified according to the purpose, location, constructions, method of actuations, and extra braking efforts. According to the purpose, from the point of view, brakes are classified as service or primary and parking or secondary brakes, and as from location, from this point of view, brakes are located at the wheels or at the transmissions system of the vehicle. Constructions from this point of brakes are drum brake and disc brakes, and the method of actuations according to this criteria gives the mechanical brakes, hydraulic brakes, electric brakes, vacuum brakes, air brakes, and by wire brakes. Drum brake. The drum brakes in which shoes press against a spinning surface in this system. That surface is called a drum, and the drum brakes have more parts than disc brakes and are harder to service, but they are less expensive to the manufacturer. This is a typical drum brakes which consists of a primary return spring and a secondary return springs, an anchor pin having a wheel cylinder, primary brake shoes, secondary brake shoes, primary parking brake levers and parking brake link, shoe hold down springs, adjuster spring, start wheel self adjuster cable. So these all are the constructional arrangement of the drum brake. Now disc brake. A disc brake consists of cast iron disc bolted to wheel hub and stationary housing called caliper. The caliper is connected to some stationary part of the vehicle like axle. When brake are applied, piston moves friction pad into contact with disc, applying equal and opposite force on disc, and on releasing the brakes, the rubber sealing rings act as return spring and retract piston and friction pads away from the disc. This is the layout of a disc brake, in which the caliper assembly, which is mounted to the axle, having the disc pads, a disc rotator, wheel studs, and wheel bearing. Mechanical brakes. Mechanical brakes are assemblies consisting of mechanical elements for the slowing or stopping of the vehicle. They use lever or linkage to transmit force from one point to the another. There are several types of mechanical brakes like band brakes. The simplest brake configurations have a metal band lined with the heat and wear resistance friction material. Drum brakes, which are commonly used on automobile rear wheels, work when shoes press against a spinning surface called a drum. And the disc brake are constructed of brake pads, a caliper, and a rotor. During operations, the brake pads are squeezed against the rotor. Cone brakes are made with a cup and a cone which is lined with heat and wear resistance material. During actuations, the cone is pressed against the mating cup surface and applying the frictional force to stop the vehicle. This is an example of a band brakes. The principle is that a band is wrapped part around a rotating drum. Tension can be applied to the band using a lever. The restraining torque results from the difference in tensions between the two ends of the belts. Hydraulic brakes. The hydraulic brakes is an arrangement of braking mechanism which uses brake fluid, especially ethylene glycol, to transfer pressure from the controlling unit to the actual brake mechanism of the vehicle. The basic parts of a hydraulic brakes are brake pads, push rod, master cylinder assembly, and brake caliper assembly. This is a layout of a typical hydraulic braking system in which there is a push rod to brake pedal lever which connects with the master cylinder pistons, and there is a reservoir of fluid in the master cylinder and having a fluid line which is connected with the caliper, and there is a brake caliper piston linked with the fluid supply, and when the brake pedal is applied, the piston from the master cylinder pushes the brake fluid into the brake line and pass on to the caliper pistons, and which primed with the rotor disc and applied friction force to stop the vehicle. In this diagram, the pink coded as a brake fluid. The system operations act as the brake pedal is pressed. A push rod exerts force on the pistons in the master cylinders. This forces fluids through the hydraulic lines towards caliper. The brake caliper pistons then apply force to the brake pads. This causes them to be pushed against the spinning rotor, and the frictions between the pad and the rotor causes braking torque to be generated and slowing the vehicle. Electric brakes, in which electric brakes are actuator devices that uses an electric current or magnetic actuating forces to slow or stop the motion of the rotating wheel. There are two main types of electric brakes, magnetic and frictions. Magnetic brakes are non-contact breakers that uses magnetic field to actuate the braking components like permanent magnetic brake, electromagnetic brake, eddy current brakes, and hydrostasis powered brakes. In permanent magnetic brakes, it is used in the electric motors and robotics, having high and accurate torque, having long life unaffected by the power supply, and safe and easy to use, but having a drawbacks which requires a constant current control to offset the permanent magnetic field. Electromagnetic brakes, which is used in copy machines, conveyor drives, packaging machinery, printing machinery, food processing machinery, and factory automations, having fast response to time, smooth, reliable, and so on, and having the drawbacks that the braking force diminishes as speed diminishes, load cannot be held at a standstill, causing safety concern. Adherent brakes, which are used in train and roller coaster brakes, having the advantage of non-contact, frictionless, light in weight, and having few moving parts, but having drawbacks like unusable at low speeds and generate heats. Servo brake system, in which a servo mechanism or servo is an automatic device that uses error sensing negative feedback to correct the performance of the mechanisms. It applies only to systems where the feedback or error corrections signal help control mechanical positions, speed, or other parameters. It is an electrically controlled mechanical or hydraulic device permitting a large actions or strong forces to be controlled by a small electrical signal. Power brakes. These are the brakes in which the power of the engine or battery is used to enhance the braking efforts. It is of four types: vacuum brake, air brake, hydraulic booster brake, and electro hydraulic booster brakes. Vacuum brakes. Vacuum brake system is controlled through a brake pipe connecting a brake valve in the driver cab with braking equipments on every vehicle. The operation of brake equipments on each vehicles depend on the conditions of vacuum created in the pipe by an ejector or exhauster. This is a similar layout of two-pipe vacuum brake system used on BR diesel cars, in which there is a drive from diesel engines having exhausters through which there is an high vacuum reservoirs which connects with the isolating valves and connect with the reservoir pipes, having a driver's brake valve and feed valve, and on the brake pads there is a brake rigging, ball valves, and brake cylinder. Air brakes. The operations of air brakes is similar to the hydraulic brakes. Expect that compressed air is used to apply brakes instead of hydraulic pressures. Air brakes are commonly used on heavy vehicles like truck, buses, and etc. Anti-lock brake systems. Due to excessive braking, brakes are locked, which causing skidding. Skidding is avoided by releasing braking pressure just before wheels are locked up and then reapplying same. The process is called pressure modulations. A modern ABS consists of an electronic control unit on which one sensors on each wheel, an electrically driven hydraulic pump, and pressure accumulator, in which accumulator is used to store hydraulic fluid to maintain high pressures in braking systems. It is charged with nitrogen gas, and the electronic control unit monitors and controls the anti-lock functions when required. So these are the types of brakes and their operating mechanisms. Thank you.